Chris here with another episode of the Make It podcast, and this is an Indie Talk week, and that means I have my good friend and co-founder with me, Nicholas Buggs. Nick, say hello.
I had to bring it back, man. You know, I was talking to our guests who are here today earlier, and we were talking about some throwback stuff. You know, like going to Blockbuster Video, and back in where I lived, they had a place called Errol's. Like, I don't know if anybody knows about Errol's, but I remember when Errol's was like going between like VHS and Betamax. You know what I'm saying? Like that's, I go back. I go way back, like 4 flats in the Cadillac. So I remember some of these things. So I had to drop the on you today.
So you're old is what you're
saying. Dude. If you buy a fine wine, do you go in the store? You like, hey, let me get an old wine. No, you don't say that. Mm-hmm. You never say that, man. I am seasoned, my brother. I am seasoned. So
you're aged
to perfection.
You've been in a cellar.
There you go. No cellar, bro. It's a whole different. There's a whole different thing.
You've been kept from sunlight.
Do I look like I've been kept from sunlight, bro?
No. You're chocolate.
That's right.
You're a chocolate man with a chocolate hand. That's
exactly. So come on now.
That's a real song, by the way. By Mark Nelson. Everyone should go find that song. Mark Nelson had a solo album, and the song is called Chocolate Man. And in the song, he says, "I'm a chocolate man with a chocolate hand."
Wow.
And I guess that's the show. I guess we can wrap up here. Nick, it's been great talking to you.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
Kyler, Natalie, thanks for joining us. It's been great. No other. Actually, no. Let's introduce.
Yeah, let's introduce.
So Kyler
friends here.
Wilson, Natalie Ruffino Wilson. Please introduce yourselves. Tell us what you do for a living, what we might know you for, and what you guys are working on today or these days.
My name's Kyler Wilson. I'm a writer, director. I consequently also edit and produce and sometimes act, moonlighting, we'll say. You might know me for Best Laid Plans. Came out a couple years ago. And we've got a dozen projects coming up. We've got all sorts of stuff we're trying to get off the ground. We've got short films that are happening. We have 3 features that we're trying to do. So lots of exciting stuff going on.
I'm Natalie Ruffino Wilson. I'm the other half. I started off as an actor, but I'm a producer, and I am also a writer, and I direct. And I act in Best Laid Plans. I produced a Karen Kingsbury's Someone Like You film last year, and I'm currently working on another couple projects that are in the works right now.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's been a long time coming. Actually, I think it's been a year in the making. That we've been wanting to have you on, and different things have happened, and most of them are our fault. But we're here now, and I'm super pumped. I have to say, you guys should be incredibly proud of having the rating you guys have for Best Laid Plan. Plans on IMDb. Like, that's so incredibly difficult to accomplish. Is it fair to call it an indie film?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's so hard. But yeah. I just didn't want to.
They speak with one voice. Oh yeah, absolutely.
We practice.
Nice.
No, it's just remarkable because of the way that IMDb handles reviews in the first place. Where if you're one of their non sort of sanctioned, registered reviewers and potentially paid reviewers, they kind of chop off all the 9 and 10 ratings and chop off all the 1s and 0s, and they have sort of this weighted score. And so I think, first of all, I think that blindsides a lot of independent filmmakers, but it also makes it very difficult to have an incredibly high score. And look, I can see both sides of it. I know IMDb wants to have sort of a professional, they view themselves as an outlet for professional filmmakers. And so there's a trust issue. There's what is this film really, the things that might be trivial to like a lay user are really, really serious to these film places like IMDb and Variety, et cetera. Right. I think the other side of it is, look, if my mom thinks my movie's a 10, damn it, let her rate it a 10.
Exactly. Like, let it be included in the overall score. Don't try to take it out for some arbitrary reason. Right. So yeah, your guys' score is awesome.
IMDb is, the regular platform. Before I ever got into movies, I would go to IMDb to see if something was worth watching. You have IMDb Pro, which I'm also a member of. That's where you go get all the pro information. But yeah, I mean, it should be used in that platform. I agree.
Yep.
And thank you.
Yeah, and I think IMDb Pro, by the way, if anyone out there doesn't have it, I know it's a paid service and money's tight all around for everybody, but I think it's like an essential application. It's like an essential service if you're taking your film career seriously, regardless of what your role. Don't have to be a filmmaker, don't have to be an actor. I think forever it's kind of been seen as a place where actors kind of sign up and directors sign up, but it's for everybody. And there's so much information they've aggregated for you. It really pays for itself if you're serious in filmmaking.
1,000%. It's extremely resourceful.
Absolutely. Part of getting Best Laid Plans distributed was through IMDb Pro research. I mean, I also did a lot of other stuff, but part of it was through that. It got the initial ball rolling on certain things, So yeah, if you are any sort of filmmaker, whether it's a production assistant, a first assistant director, a first AC, highly recommend. I mean, it's a yearly thing, doesn't cost that much, not being paid by IMDb.
Yeah.
Right.
Really.
So tell us about Best Laid Plans and what the movie is, but then tell us how IMDb Pro helped jumpstart distribution.
Sure.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll kick it off by saying I started writing a script a few years ago. Well, almost a decade ago. And we were working with somebody and it seemed like some good things were going to happen with it. It's kind of a baby of mine. It's since become a baby of ours. Yeah. Started off as her stepchild and turned into her own baby, Nice. So we were getting the ball rolling and it seemed like things were really going to happen with it. Yeah. And the second that we decided to pull the trigger on the whole shebang, COVID shut everything down.
Yeah.
And so we were really disheartened by that.
Ooh, so disheartened.
Because I mean, you struggle to make
so sad
projects, and the big thing is like getting the feature done, right? We can do shorts all day long. We could write a short tomorrow and or film it the next day, edit it the next day, and have it released the next day. That's what the 48-hour film festival is. But to get the feature out, so we were super, super downtrodden on that, and we were just both kind of licking our wounds, and we're both kind of like, well, but okay, wait, maybe this person can't help us make the movie right now, but they were also they handled distribution. They weren't a distribution company, but they handled that side of it.
It's like sales and packaging.
So I called her up. Her name's Tiffany Boyle, for anybody who wants to know, at Ramo Law, which is a big law firm in LA for things.
Yeah, we're familiar with and I thought it was Ramo.
Yeah.
We always pronounce it Ramo.
You might be right. I might be the wrong one.
But Tiffany Boyle is the name.
and she's awesome. So I call her up and I'm like, all right, look, you can't help us make the movie, but like, what if I give you a movie?
And she didn't understand.
And she's like, I just told you, like, we can't get anybody right now. Everybody's too scared to do anything because they didn't know what the business was going to do,
Right.
Yeah. I was like, no. Like, if I give you a completed product, can you sell it?
And for reference, this is about May 2020.
Yeah.
Okay. So just so we know where we're at.
So this is about the time when Trump was saying we were all going to be enjoying summer.
Yes.
Yeah.
In just a couple of days.
Kill it.
Yeah, the heat was going to come and kill the virus. And
precisely.
The heat will kill the virus.
and so will the bleach.
I beat the virus. Sorry, go ahead.
So anywho, she's like, yeah, isn't that, that's what I do. And I was like, right, but I just didn't know, are people buying movies? Like, she's like, oh, absolutely, they'll be buying movies. They're just not going to finance them right now.
Right.
So, and what did we see? Like, in retrospect, right? What did we see? We saw like streaming explode because all these companies were taking movies that they had shelved and everything, So I was like really stoked about that, and thinking maybe we had a good thing. And so I was like, Nat, we gotta write a script that we can manage, We got to make it as clean and concise as possible. Like we basically have to do the age old, you know, that phrase, like you can make your product good, cheap, or fast, but you can only pick two.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, we have to do all three. We have to do all three. It's the only way it's going to work, because we had to self-finance it.
Mm-hmm.
We had to shoot it fast because we knew we couldn't just have people on a 30-day shoot for free.
Right.
You know, and obviously we had to do it cheap. So we cut all the safe corners, none of the unsafe corners. We cut all the corners we possibly could for it.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we're spitballing like, okay, what do we do? You know, we're throwing out ideas at one another, and she goes, your mom.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, when I was a kid, my mom had like a side job cleaning houses, and I would go and help her. And I remember this one experience where I thought that maybe there was like a hostage situation that was happening. And you know, I'm like 10, and in my mind, like little filmmaker brain, I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to do? I got to get out of the house. I got to hit my mom. And it ended up not being that at all. It was just like the guy's daughter or something had come in, but I told him this thing, and I thought, you know, well, that keeps it contained, which it was during the height of the pandemic. So, you know, now it's all basically in one location, which makes it cheaper for us to film. And maybe it's a story about a housekeeper who goes to a house and somehow becomes a hostage. And then his brain starts going, got it.
My brain just like always goes 1,000 miles an hour with this, with like creating stuff and writing and whatnot. And I was like, oh, okay. And then the Best Laid Plans was born. So it's about a single mother down on her luck who takes one last job for the day and finds herself taken in a hostage situation at that house.
Right.
That's the long and short of it. And obviously there are lots of twists and turns, and you know, we had a great time doing that. But that's the overall gist of what the movie is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome.
And then you took that movie and gave it to Tiffany? Is that the idea?
Yeah. So weirdly enough, we took it back to her, took an early cut. Once I got it all done. And she was like, I like it.
We're like,
but there's no named talent in it.
Hmm.
I was like, well, we didn't say anything about that.
I mean,
we said
I just said, if I make the movie, we get it, you know, sold.
Yeah, it was, you know, as a producer, you know, I worked with budgets up to $4-5 million at this point, and we did it for very, very, very small fraction of that in 8 days. And because of COVID, we had the ability to have some of the best crew in town. Dean Shortland's in it. Kyler and I are in it.
Friend of the podcast.
Yeah. And so, you know, we would not have been able to afford named talent. Then you have to bring on SAG. And at the time, the COVID protocols of it all, COVID testing, I mean, that alone would have made the whole thing impossible. And so, yeah, so there was like a lack of, she's like, I really like the story. It's well acted. There's just no named talent. It got to the point where I was like, can she stop saying that?
Yeah, right. I was like, I was in it. Like, what are you talking about? I have a name.
Sometimes she would slip up and she'd be like, there's no talent in it.
There's no talent. I'm like,
yeah, I'm on the phone.
I can hear you.
So yeah, so she was like a little kerfuffled as to what to do with it. And I was like, all right, well, you know what?
I enjoy kerfuffled as a word.
Well, yeah, he actually uses that quite a lot. She actually did talk to us about if we want to do a festival run, which I think it's important to say. Not, you know, we've notoriously kind of never had really good luck with festivals, and you kind of lose out a whole year of your potential life in doing this festival and then not have anything to show for it. And so we did not make this movie to go to festivals. And so that was something that she kind of was, you know, I think maybe you'd have a good shot at this festival or this stuff. And they were like, we don't want to do that.
Yeah. Because I mean, we'd already tried that method with certain shorts and whatnot. Yeah. And, you know, here's the thing. We're not saying don't put your projects in festivals, because there's a place for projects in festivals, obviously.
Right.
But we make, the best way I can say is we made straightforward, just entertaining films, popcorn flicks, kind of, you know. I mean, they're thought provoking and whatnot, but there's not like a grand, deep message, which the festivals love.
I think,
you know,
we have a producer that we're working with right now on a different project. Actually, the one that was our baby
might be coming back.
Yeah. And he used the term, he watched Best Laid Plans, and he said, I think it's very, very well done. You guys are clearly good writers and actors, but it's very commercial, and it's too commercial for film festivals. So it was a weird thing because you almost take it as a compliment. You're like, oh, okay, so this is like the jams of what I grew up on, like Harrison Ford, or like you'd say John Wick's commercial, right? But like you're telling me that's a negative thing for where we are here. We don't have $25 million to make the movie. You know what I mean? We're going to go through festivals. It's too commercial for festivals. But if you can get out of festivals, then they want commercial, which is what we're doing.
Which is all just.
It's an interesting comment, right? Like,
right.
I don't think John Hughes would be shunned from a festival.
No,
I don't think his movies would be disliked at a festival. I think he would get a standing ovation at Cannes, just like another great story would if the story was great. Maybe I'm being naive in that regard. Maybe Cannes the wrong festival to use in that example. But I think story is king. I think when you tell a good story, people are going to like it. And people come to festivals to see movies that move them and that tell great stories. You can do that in a variety of ways. So I wonder about that. I wonder about that thought process, because one thing me and Nick hear a lot is rules. People thinking that there are these rules. Like, oh, no, that's a rule. In film, you can't have too many EPs. In film, we want to shoot for 18 days. In film, this is what pre-pro is. In film, this is, who's going to take care of marketing for us. And we just found over and over and over again that if you confine yourself to those boxes without the context that created those boxes, you're going to be selling yourself short.
No, I mean, look, that's a fair statement. Here's another rule, and this will get us back into the distribution side of things. Another rule is don't make cold calls, right?
But if he had a book, an autobiography, I told him he should call it The King of...
I think you just said call it cold call.
Cold call. Yeah. This man is the king of cold call.
I actually like the name Don't Make Cold Calls.
Right.
Yeah.
As an ironic title. It's great title.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. I literally I did crap tons of research both through IMDb Pro and YouTube on like watching podcasts and stuff like this and or listening to them, looking at interviews, collecting names. And I just got a list of companies, and a lot of this was from IMDb, going to the company and finding like direct numbers, not just like some operator's going to pick up the phone. IMDb, they list agent info and stuff like that a lot of times on their website, depending on who you're trying to go to, obviously. Right. It's not all inclusive. You're not going to call up CAA tomorrow and be like, I'm talking to them. But, these other distribution companies, like we watch a ton of indie films, right? So we see what kind of distribution companies are constantly releasing the indie content, So I would just like go to IMDb Pro, find that company, give them a call. I literally had one guy laugh, and he was like, man, nobody ever does this anymore. Yeah, send it. You know what? Send it on over.
Yeah.
Nice.
And he loved the film. Passed on it, but he loved the film. Mm-hmm. So I ended up finding this guy named Glenn Reynolds, who I think his company's name is Circus Road Pictures or Films. Mm-hmm. And he's a sales agent. Mm-hmm. So basically, he's already done all the work I was trying to do. He's already done all that research. He has the connections directly to these people, right? And I was like, I was in Atlanta at the time on a movie, and she was up here producing a movie, and I'm like helping co-produce part of her movie from Atlanta while I'm on this other movie, and I'm staying up every night until 3, 4, or 5 o'clock in the morning, like doing my research. And I find Glenn Reynolds, and I send this guy an email. And I found him through some random news article. It was like Glenn Reynolds was a sales agent, which was, by the way, the first time I had heard that phrase. I didn't, really? Stuff people talk about, like, they're sales agents for movies.
Right.
So I shot him an email at like 2 o'clock in the morning. He got back to me almost immediately. He was like, yes, so shoot over a private link. And I was like, okay. So I sent it over. And I get an email from him like 2 hours later, and he's like, hey, so I clicked on it just to see if it was garbage, and your movie sucked me in. I'd love to represent your film, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, finally a break, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm talking hundreds of hours of work going into the distribution side, which is something filmmakers should talk more about.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
Because if you can get it made, great. Hey, make it.
But therein lies another rule. And one of the big rules of that filmmakers are told is never tell anybody what your movie was made for. And there's a validity to it, because when you admit that, then you hurt yourself on the negotiating side, if that's the place you're at with the film. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to helping out future filmmakers and letting them know what to expect, by keeping that shrouded, you allow them to sort of fall into the same viper pit that you might have fallen into before. Right. There was a great article, maybe the best article I've ever read on independent film financing and ROI from Filmmaker magazine, I think last week. I don't know if you guys read it, but they had such a hard time just getting data, and it took them a long time to compile it. But the numbers in that article, and I'll have producer Papa Bear pop that link in the show notes for people who want to read it. And we might include it in our newsletter tomorrow. Our forthcoming newsletter, I guess when people listen to this, it won't be tomorrow anymore. But the point is that you'll have the chance to read it. They give you pie charts, they give you diagrams, literally like breakdowns of this percentage of independent films didn't make their money back, this percentage did. Mm-hmm. This percentage of films that made their money back had this budget, and the percentage that didn't had this budget. And it's remarkable. It's like, it's everything that we've been preaching from day one, which is this sort of, when we first got into the business, the first thing we were told as producers and EPs is that, hey, we're making this movie for $200,000. And because we're making it for $200,000, you're going to ROI faster. And our experience has been that the exact opposite is true. If you make your movie for $2 to $4 million, you have a much greater chance to ROI than if you make it for, and some of that is for 200,000, and some of that is systematic, right? Because of the SAG rules and some of the reimbursement rules, and then of course getting quote unquote, as your colleague Tiffany named talent in your movie and things like that. And so it's antithetical, but it's so true. And this article confirmed what we've been saying since we had this podcast, which is 2019. So for the last 4 years, we've been saying that. And I can't tell you how many times we've been on pitch calls and Zoom calls and phone calls and just coffee meetings where for about 30 minutes, we'll hear a very detailed and passionate pitch for the movie, for the film they're doing. And then we'll say something like, this is awesome. Mm-hmm. We think this movie has a real shot if you make it for $1.5 million. Are you cool with taking on some bridge financing to make the structure right financially?
Right.
And then you want to see somebody run to the door. Oh my God. I'm like, wait a second. Come back.
Yeah.
You just told me, you just spent 30 minutes telling me how great this film is and how much you believe in it. And I bring up a little bit of bank financing, and now you're out. And so what that did was, I think for Nick especially, it gave him this sense of, oh, I'm not sure some of these filmmakers want to make a profitable movie, but rather just make a movie and get paid to do it, but I'm paying them.
Right. No, I mean, I think that's absolutely fair.
Yeah, that's definitely part of that. But I think that there's also, you could say what Kyler and Natalie have been through, which is they understand that for a fraction, they can produce something, right? Yep. And you have control.
It's like, that's a benefit. Yeah. That's a benefit of us making your movie, but we don't want to make movies like that.
Well, right. Yeah, that was the big thing when we were on distribution for it was, we made it for an amount of money that you wouldn't deem possible. And our agent said, don't say that, because so we would ask,
right,
what do you think? They kind of quote and you're like, well, what do you think we made it for? And, we had one person say, I think you made it for $750,000 to $1 million, which we did not.
Mm-hmm.
And
wish we had.
Yeah. Right. And I think it's clear in the fact that we didn't have star talent, right? Yep. The name, but everything else, the way that it looks, the storytelling, all that stuff. I mean, would I have wanted to make the writing a story where we could have gone outside of the house and maybe gone into the city and gotten some exteriors? Yes, but we were self-financing it. So as writers and producers, we knew the importance of writing to tailor the budget that we knew we could do.
Yeah.
And we've already made our money back.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting.
So
that's exactly how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
When you have that budget.
Yeah.
I think it's important to say to what both of you are saying about financing. It's not called the movie art. It's called the movie business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so if you're not willing as a filmmaker to do the things that you need to do to make a profit, you've picked the wrong business. You're going to go out. Like you're never going to be able to sustain that, Yeah.
Yeah.
Stretching your budget's different than or self-financing something is different than knowing what it takes to make a movie,
Yeah. I mean, that's a big thing I deal with when I'm producing is, I treat it like it's my money, my personal money. So if you give me $1 million, I start from a place of knowledge. So I don't ask you what your rate is. I don't call the gaffer and say, like, what's your rate? I go, okay, on an IATSE tier, if we were going union,
right,
we're going to go IATSE, right. But we're not really. But if we were, and it was at this budget, which is, say it's the bottom tier, well, I'm going to lift it up one because we aren't going union, and maybe you're fine at $492. So I'll bump it up a little bit. Maybe that means that every day I'm paying you $50 more a day, but I'm not paying into your pension and health. So now I'm going to offer you this. And I feel like everybody feels taken care of. And it's based in a reality that's based on the budget. And I think a lot of times people have this grand idea, the commercial and music video world, where you work for 1 day, 2 days, maybe 3 days, that rate somehow applies to 5 weeks of prep and a 5-week shoot, which you just cannot do.
Right.
And so I wish filmmakers would understand that aspect of it too. It's like we all want to be able to make money, but like you do have to start somewhere. And honestly, having made Best Laid Plans back in 2020, we are reaping the benefits of that now, which is just awesome. And I want to tell people to do that more. Go and finance in yourself. I know people say don't do that. Alan Powell would be one of them. Love him.
Love Alan Powell. Friend of the podcast.
But I would tell Alan, like, hey, look, it worked for us, but we were smart about it. Don't go put $200,000 of your own money.
Don't sink your savings, but like,
no.
Our whole point in making Best Laid Plans was we had a movie we wanted to do. We got crushed when we couldn't do it.
Right.
So we still wanted to make a movie. And we knew that at the budget level that we were going to make it, at the scale that we were going to make it, it would at least prove that we made it. We got it done. We got it distributed to just 2 local Nashville filmmakers just out here hitting the streets, being scrappy. And we never want to do that again.
No,
but we did it.
Yeah, right. But also, there's a lot to dig into there. One is that it shows that you guys really do work for a particular outcome. Like staying up to 3 or 4 at night takes a lot more than just coffee, and trying to make those calls and do that research. There's a determination. There's a fire there, and obviously you wouldn't want to do that twice. So I get it. But also want to double click on something that kind of we just went through, but is really important, which is that you tailored your script and your writing, and of course the location because of COVID, but other things around the budget versus saying, I have this really big, audacious script and I'm going to wedge it into this budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a terrible way to start,
You're right.
It's like
we've seen it done.
there are other rules, right?
Me too.
That are budgetary. What am I trying to say? There are rules that affect budgetary things, like don't write scripts around a location, for example, right? Find the right location. Don't write around a certain location. But you do have to. So our company is called Outsideourmeans, right? Because Francis Ford Coppola said there's no such thing as being creative, or
there's nothing
creative about
living
inside your means.
Right.
And we were like,
absolutely.
Well, you have to stretch every dollar.
And our logo is a 1 cent.
Yeah, literally 1 cent.
Black folks just say scared money can't make money. Scared money can't make money.
Yeah.
Fair.
But yeah, if you are going to self-finance it, you are going to put several, thousands of dollars into your project. You better be writing to the budget that you've got and using every favor that you can call in.
Because it's the one time. It's the one time you get to do that.
Yeah, because we probably could because people like us pretty well.
Well, we've hired people beyond that at that point.
But if every time
I thought you were going to say you hired people to like you. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, sometimes
that threw me off because you're piggybacking on his comment. He's like, "Oh, we hired people. Don't worry." But
we hired them afterwards. But yes, I hire some people like me.
But if all we ever did was call people up and ask for favors, those favors eventually just stop because people get sick of it. Yep. So it's like you're going to self-finance something. I think you get to do it once. Now, like short films is a whole different story. A lot of people will just utilize short films to upgrade themselves. Like a second AC might want to be a first AC, and they'll do it for free and stuff like that. But I think you get one movie that does it the way we did it, and then it's over. So you better make it as absolute good as you possibly can.
Well, let's talk about that. So I want to take you from that space where you guys were really smart in the making, right? Like how I did that, right? So you made something, which is great. That's the first step, is making a great product, right? That's the first step of all of it.
Yeah.
But there's a step that you took that many independent filmmakers, I know that many that we've spoken to, haven't taken, which is you actually found a sales agent and not just a distributor, right? A lot of folks will go from I made the film to a distributor. So can you talk just real quick about what did the sales agent do for you that would have been different had you just sold or given your film directly to a distributor?
I'm going to preface all of this by saying Kyler is going to end up taking the floor because this distribution process was just over my head at the time. I now know way more about it. But at the time, this man was so determined, staying up at 3 or 4 in the morning, listening to podcasts and things like that. And so I think you kind of guided into it. Once it all kind of was said and we were signing the deal, I was, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. And now we have a relationship with this distribution company where we have the ability to come with any project on the next before it gets made. And we have, what is it called? We're confirmed that we would get distribution through them on the next one.
We got a letter. We got a letter of intent.
LOI.
An LOI. Thank you. That
was part of our part of my negotiation with Random Media, who distributed it. Was I'll do your deal, but I want a letter of intent that says you'll do our next one.
Yeah. Anyway, start back.
Just trying to set ourselves up for success in the future.
Well, Kyler, before you get into it, I just wanted to tell you, Natalie, the visual that you just gave me was the 500 hours that he put in was like 500 individual puzzle pieces. So when you're looking at the pieces on the ground, you have no clue what that is. But as you get closer and closer and closer, the picture started to form and you could get it. Right. And I think that's the visual that I was getting as you were going through that.
He is the puzzle master. So it totally makes sense to me.
That.
We have a master builder and a puzzle master on the same podcast.
That's awesome.
Nick, just really quick as a sidebar, will you get one of your most prized Legos from behind you that you
man, I don't know.
Maybe Optimus Prime. Just grab Optimus Prime.
No, Prime. Remember,
those are Legos. Those are not real toys.
I know, but listen, Prime is a set. You see Prime back there? Prime is a set that you buy in the store, but he's talking about master building. So let me just show you this one.
Whoa!
All this stuff behind Nick, he's with Legos.
Holy cow.
He made that.
So cool.
So this doesn't come in a set, Chris. This is why this is master built.
I know. That's why I'm trying to. He's the puzzle master. You're the master builder.
Go. Okay. You got it.
So that's a lightsaber that will eventually have a light in it. Is that right, Nick?
Well, that's because you want me to put it in there. I'm like, no, I got to do it. I got to put a light. Look. I've seen those online. Those are awesome.
They're really
this is not nearly as impressive as that, though, because this.
No, but what am I looking at? What is that?
Look at it's like these little cardboard, right? That's what it's made out of.
I know it's a fishbowl, but what is it?
Look, a 3D puzzle. made out of wood, and you have to put it all together. It comes out cheap.
Let's see.
Yeah. It's really neat.
Yeah, okay. It's flat.
You said it's made out of cardboard?
No, I think this is wood, right?
It's like a wood.
Yeah, it's almost like a balsa or something. But I really enjoyed them. They're all over the house.
You guys should go play with your games together, and Chris and I can have
Chris, I got to show him this one.
Natalie, that is literally what I tell Nick all the time.
This one is for
just to razz on him a little bit. I love that he does what he does. But he'll say, like, why aren't you into Legos? And I'll be like, I like pussy. So
this guy, I'm like, dude.
While I was out dating, you were at home making Legos
over here. Like, I think you grown-ass man. I'm like, whatever, bro.
I still think you won out. I think you won out.
Yes.
So I'll show kids, this if you're listening, go do Legos. Stay away from women and dating guys.
Right. And I'll tell you this. I'm gonna show this one that I made because this is for one of our previous podcast guests. Her nephew is just getting into Legos and he really likes Spider-Man. So, I hooked this one up for him.
Oh, that's awesme. Dang.
Shout out to AJ.
It's coming. I'm putting it in the mail.
Shout out to publicist AJ Furman.
That's right.
Yeah, can't wait for her to get that. It's going to be killer.
All right, dude. We got to stop playing with our
toys. All right.
Back to it.
Rewind. Go back.
The question was about a sales agent versus going straight to distribution.
That's right.
So the reality is even though I was willing to make those cold calls and get the ball rolling on everything, it takes a lot of time and effort, right? So what Glenn does, it takes a lot of time and effort for him too, but he's got a guy at the other end of that phone that knows him, that he helps promote us to them. Mm-hmm. He helps. So like, for example, Netflix checked the movie out, right? Mm-hmm. Netflix obviously ended up passing. But the reason why is because they said it felt too small to be a Netflix original. Right? Yeah. But we got really useful feedback like that, right?
Lionsgate said it looked too commercial.
They said they weren't looking for theatrical.
They weren't looking for theatrical content.
Right?
That's what it was. So that's a compliment.
Got one really kind of insult from Netflix, but one great compliment from Lionsgate.
Well, I think it's important to note that like a sales agent in this distribution plan is the same as me having, McCrae Agency as an actor. Like I can go to a casting director. It doesn't mean that they're going to talk to me.
Yeah, that's actually a great analogy because like if let's say a casting director passes on someone's headshot, your agent might be like, hey, I am begging you to reconsider. Yeah. You need to have this person read. They're really good. Just because you don't like their headshot, so there's a relationship that your sales agent has with all of these distribution companies. And there were, I don't know, 150 of them or something that were on his list. He had his top tier, his middle tier, and his bottom tier. Yeah. And we never got put into any of the other tiers. We stayed at the top.
We did stay at the top. Yeah. I think we ended up, it was like 22 and we got 4 or 5 offers out of the 22 on the top tier. And then it, like Gravitas was one that won us, and I had a terrible experience on the phone with Gravitas. It was like, I don't feel like you even know who I'm talking. Like, what movie is it?
So then what he did was he liaisoned between the two of us between like us and say Gravitas, us and Random Media, us and Giant, I think was one. Anyways, he liaisoned between us to set the meeting, and of course he would get me on the phone first and be like, hey, just so you know, like, you don't need to feel pressured, yada, yada, yada. This is just a talk. Don't worry about it. See if you like them. And if you like them, let me know. And so then we would schedule the meetings with the distribution companies, and we'd have to, have an hour-long potential sometimes conversation about how much they like the film and so on and so forth. But we didn't have to do that legwork anymore. Yeah. I didn't have to stay up till 3:00 in the morning calling these people and trying to figure out who the next person would be to call,
Well, I think one of the big notes here is we made the movie for such little money is, we need to be back at work because we hardly ever got to make the phone calls or the Zooms together.
Yeah.
Like I would be prepping on something and have to go to a different office. He'd be on set and he'd have to step away. And so, we needed to be going back to work. We needed somebody else working for us. And because we made the movie for so little, we could afford to bring on a sales rep for a very small amount and have a good negotiation to just be able to do it. Because at the end of the day, when I book a job, I'm giving Cookie a percentage for doing the work that she does all the time, but she's doing work that I don't book. You know what I mean? And he was doing work. Yeah, Kim McCrae. Yeah. And so it's like, it's the same deal. Like he was doing work for people who said no. We weren't charged for that. That was just part of the agency thing, you know? And so I think it's something that really, considering like the big picture of it all, when you're producing content on a lower scale financially, you need to build in this stuff unless you have a Brad Pitt attached.
Right.
Yeah. There's a couple of things that I take away from that. One, it reminds me of a conversation we had way back in the day, probably at least 5 years ago, Nick, with a filmmaker who was pitching us on how the film was going to be sort of more affordable and simpler because he could do everything.
Oh, yeah.
He could light it. He could shoot it. He could do all the stuff.
Right.
And then, what me and Nick asked him, he was super confident. Yeah. And what me and Nick, and he had a name. And what me and Nick asked is, but why would you want to?
Yeah, it's fair.
Right.
Like we, and this is back when we were EPing things and not completely focused on the independent media marketing piece, but it was like, and sitting in that producer's chair, and it was like, if we're going to be producers on this, we want our director directing. Like, we want you to be completely focused on how you're going to tell the story, not doing everything. And then the second thing that comes to mind is, and I won't say his name because I don't think he would care, because I think he sees it as a point of like, I think he sees it as a good thing, you know, like a point of pride. But I'll just, since I don't have him to ask, I'll just leave his name unsaid. But he made a bunch of films, and Nick was talking to him, and Nick was saying, "How much did you make this one for?" And he's like, $4,000. How much did you make this one for? These are all distributed films. $7,000. How much did you make this one for? $2,000. And then, so we said, well, okay, this next film, $2 million. And he said, okay, so what that he's gonna make? And we said, so how'd that happen? And he's like, this guy I grew up with who has done well in film found out that I made these 3 movies for that money and said, I want to see what you can do if I give you this. Right. And so there is this sort of like upside. If you make a film that's actually consumable,
right, for
a low budget, that's another sort of, to Nick's point, like the upside, the other side of what I was saying, right. Upside of making a small budget movie, ultra low budget movie, is if you actually make one that's consumable,
right.
Other industry professionals see that and say, damn, like, what would happen if I gave them X amount of money? They can make that for that. Then, and you know, when we made another version of you, that was the thing that, or when we were part of that movie, shout out to Maki Dapp and the Wonderkin, Micah Sims, but and David Perry as well. What we heard back in over and over and over again was, this movie cost $3 million, right? This movie cost $2 million, right? And we would sometimes we just nod, but we know we didn't spend that. Right. And so the movie sort of, you know, was so much better looking than its budget that there were lots of opportunities to come from it that really haven't even been taken advantage of yet, simply because the director's doing other things. But the at the end of the day, Maki can always sit back and say, I made a movie that can honestly stand side by side next to a theatrical film in both, you know, sonically and visually.
Yeah. Well,
and if you can pull that off,
let me jump on that, Chris.
You know,
that's key to independent movies. I will tell you, sonically and visually. Right. Even the story may not, we're story is king people, right? You'll hear us say that all the time. But if, as an independent filmmaker making a feature film, if sonically and visually it's good, you are like above and beyond maybe 75% of, if not more, independent films. Just right there.
Totally.
right? A person knows it's an independent film because they are distracted by bad sound and bad visuals. That's it. If you bring in noise into the film, and bad acting is the next. It's like, yeah, because there's some
bad sound, bad visuals, bad acting.
Yeah, that's the next thing up, right? That's the next thing up. But it's like, it does. Yeah. And a lot of times I would say that the bad acting, I have seen very few independent films where the bad acting wasn't directly associated with bad writing.
Totally.
Oh, 1,000%. Viola Davis, we talked about this. We're like, as an Oscar winner, like, I don't deserve the Oscar. It's the actors who take bad writing and make it look good. I get good writing.
Right.
You know, I'm like, yes, Viola. Thank you.
Yes, you know? Preach.
It's so difficult for an actor to overcome bad writing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why, you tend to, you or me, I will rewrite things sometimes in auditions because I'm just like, no, I can't. If I really like it. And I don't do it like crazy. It's just enough to, kind of get it. And I have booked things and I don't know that they realized that I rewrote things. But for the sake of delivering it in a very short amount of time, I have a really great writer next to me and myself. And I'm like, can we just maybe move this and blah, blah, blah. And it helps helps me do the thing that you want me to do. And then we'll see where it is. And sometimes it shifts, by the time we go into production.
I love that.
Is the industry still in the self-tape mode, or are you going to auditions in person now still?
I think self-tape mode is where it's going to be.
I don't think you're ever going to get back. I mean, you might have some in-persons. Like callbacks sometimes will go in person, but I think we live in a self-tape world now, unfortunately.
I think there's a benefit to it. You are now, people in Atlanta, people in LA, people in New York, they're open to seeing you now for certain things where they wouldn't have been. So that is a thing. I think they were kind of gearing towards that even before COVID. I remember like Vampire Diaries was something that I auditioned for, one of the first things back in like 2012. Yeah. And it was an on tape and they were shooting in Georgia. And I mean, terrified. What is this? You get your books and you like put your phone. I remember one of my friends like holding the iPhone, like reading, trying to make sure that she didn't move, and you're like, can I stabilize that? I don't know. And so I think it was always headed this way. You just get more and at the rate of what we're making stuff now, I mean, we're streaming the stuff constantly. These casting directors need to do things immediately. And as a producer who's been on the other side of it and gets those actors access EcoCast and like is able to watch, I wish I had more information to give the actors because it's not streamlined the way that you think it is. You might see 100 auditions and maybe 2 of them did what you even asked them to do.
Oh, wow.
So you are standing out if you just follow directions, even if you didn't know the audition. And it's crazy to hear that.
I've heard some really good actors complain about this new era because some of the actors that were experienced and like have divulged so much time into their skill set, read all the books, done all the classes. They used to like the idea of going into the live audition. First of all, that was a benchmark. Meaning, if I could get there and you couldn't, then I had an advantage, right? So that was your first cutoff, your first elimination round, if you will, is who showed up. Okay, now it's you and 15 people, and you have to outperform 15 people, and you can use a lot of, and you can use different things to win the day, right? Like, I've heard of actors like bringing in their own props. Like walking in with a cup of coffee and then using it and then you can charm people that are at the table in front of you.
Right.
And now with the self-tape, and this isn't me saying it, but I've heard experienced actors say, well, this person probably did 1,000 takes until they got something right. They can cut their self-tape together. Yep. They can use AI on their self-tape. And now this casting director has to look at 1,000 auditions and so you might get lost in the shuffle. It's just, I don't know what you think about that. I'm curious.
No, I think that's a really, really good point. I mean, I think there is an opportunity to manipulate. I have seen a slightly disappointing, like at the point of producing and being on set and seeing the people that were cast and their tape for day players. This is mainly day players, not supporting, not leads, right? They come, they have one day on set. They're not even close to what their tape was. They come on the day, They can't take direction. They're fidgety. They're nervous, and they're getting like in over their head. They really shouldn't be there.
Right.
And it's frustrating to see, because I know a lot of actors, like I've had to fight for actors that I know personally, because they overlooked them for X, Y, and Z and went with another person. And like, I have a feeling, I don't know this person. I'm not saying they're not great. I know this person's going to come out and know what's going on. We hired Will McKinney, which is, I think Valerie Jane Parker's boyfriend, for someone like you as a paramedic. And initially he did not make the cut with the director. And I was like, hey, beg you to reconsider, because I know he's going to show up and he's going to give you more than is even written on the page. Cause this is a car crash. There's stuff happening, and, and he came and he improvised and he added so much to it, this layer that I just wasn't gutturally sure that another actor could do. And you go back to the manipulation of the tape. I think that there is a lot of that. And for actors like me, I started in person. So I used to do the little like talks in the bathroom at the hotel, and go, you got this,
Yeah.
So I missed that. I think that's where I excelled. Because once tape started happening, I'm not really the best auditioner on tape. I'm a great actor on set, but I haven't really found that thing, I think, unless I wrote it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. That was the kind of the spirit of the comments, is like they show up to set and they're not even close to what they were, on tape. I want to shift gears a little bit, just because I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you guys this, because we asked this of a lot of people in your situation.
This is the gotcha that we told you.
Yeah, this is the gotcha. This is the gotcha part. Yeah.
Oh no, you said that we're going to do this.
Yeah, this is the gotcha part, but it doesn't have to be. I'm just curious. I'm just curious what you guys will say. I know that you're kind of, in a way, newlyweds. I was always told, you're looking for that 7-year mark before you get comfortable, in your relationship, and maybe don't have to do all the things you were doing in the beginning. But I am curious what it's like. How did you find each other, start dating? I'm sure it's doing business. And how is it working with your significant other? Are you do you have to treat each other differently?
It's actually funny today because Grace didn't know that we were married.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, okay, so I can kick off.
Yeah.
He's got a good story.
So first off, we met in 2015.
March of 2015,
and we met on a Colt Ford music video. And
we were both PAs.
We were both production assistants.
Yeah.
And it's the crazy music video with the duck people?
Duck Dynasty.
Duck Dynasty.
Yes, I know this video.
There's
a puppet,
going around.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that's how we met. That's how we initially met. Then we worked together from then through 2017.
I didn't see him again until the following, like August. It was still the King season 1 started up.
So
Travis Nicholson.
Yeah.
So she worked in props on that, and everything was totally platonic. I was in a long-term relationship. She was in a long-term relationship. Yeah. And then she ended up moving to New York.
Yep.
And time went on. My long-term relationship ended. And I was on the set of a Perkins commercial.
And then it was like December of 2017.
Tell the people what Perkins is.
Perkins is it's
like a Denny's?
A Denny's, yeah. I mean, it's or maybe a
Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, sort of Cracker Barrel-y. It's restaurant. They usually do greasy.
I was acting in it, and he was the second AD.
Yeah. So it was just a commercial, one-day commercial. She came on to do background.
Yeah, which I was so mad about. I was like, I don't want to take this job, and I ended up texting you because I was running late, and I saw he was on the call sheet, and I was like, I hope he remembers me. I'm just like running a little bit late. I was actually dragging my feet because I was like, I can't believe I said yes.
So
late
background for Perkins.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. So anyways, I asked how her significant other at the time was, and she was like, you'll have to ask him. And I was like, okay,
I don't know. You'll have to ask him.
So anyways, I see her in background holding, and she's typing away at a computer, and I hadn't talked to her in a long time. So I just walked over and was trying to catch up for a minute. And I was like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm writing the script. And I was like, are you now? because desperately want somebody to write with, basically. Yeah. And so our initial like meet after that was purely a sit down and talk about story ideas and that sort of thing. And we continued to talk, and then, I kept like shooting her flirty, stuff.
We actually wrote a short story via text where one person had to do something and then be like, it was about Santa Claus. And because it was around Christmas. I don't remember totally what happened.
So, trying to do all the cute, flirty stuff.
We're weird.
And her friends
I can transcribe the text thread. It was Santa Claus emoji, eggplant emoji, squirt emoji, Santa Claus emoji.
No. Stormy night.
And just in a circle.
Yeah.
So
sorry, go ahead.
Anyway, let's see. We're no.
You were sending me a little thing. Anyway, we ended up going on. We weren't sure was a
flirty text threads.
So
I was not understanding that.
So she wasn't getting it. She's like going to her friends, like, what does he mean by this? And they're like, he's flirting. She's like, no, he's not.
Most people find me intimidating for some reason, so I just didn't know.
So
yeah.
So, anyways, then I convinced her to go to dinner, but still neither one of us
Perkins,
whether or not date.
No,
not Perkins.
Was it Perkins? Known for their skillet mills.
Skillet mills, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, it's Cafe Nona. And here's the funny thing: neither of us knew it was a date. I was all freaking out about it. My buddy's like, "Shut up! Like, just basically grow a pair and go, just have fun. Don't worry about it." I ended up paying for the meal.
I wore overalls.
And I didn't realize how insanely expensive it was going to be at the time. And
right.
I spent every single red cent in my bank account to pay for the meal.
I didn't know.
You didn't find out about that until after the fact. And so, yeah, then like we saw each other again and it was like, okay, wait a second. Are we dating?
Are we dating?
And I was like,
I think we're dating.
Yeah, I think we're dating.
And then January 3rd, 2018, we started dating. And what was it? May of 2019, we got engaged. And October 25th of 2019, we got married. And October 25th, 2020, we went into production of Best Laid Plans. And that is how I brought it all back around.
Wow.
That's amazing because I think I think a lot of times it's interesting, like when you're ready and you found someone that's your soulmate or someone that's the one, you really don't have to have this long gestation period. You don't have to date them for like 5 or 6 years before you decide to get married.
Right.
Like it's this weird thing that you're always told by your parents, but it is very difficult to put in words. Like, you'll know when you know.
Yeah.
What the hell does that mean? But when you feel it, it's like, oh, yeah, they were right.
Yeah.
I mean, you can ask probably most people that you've interviewed. Like, I mean, all of my friends knew that I always wanted to find somebody that I could do this sort of stuff with. This sort of like creating things together, finding a partner in crime with that specifically. Always been really career driven. Working with him is probably the best thing ever. I mean, like, I can't tell you how good it is. And it's so funny. We were in the office today on a job and the script soup was in the office and she did not know we did a project for a week. And it wasn't until the end of the second week that she even knew we were married.
Wow.
She didn't even know we were dating. And we're not.
She dropped her coffee mug.
Yeah.
Had a full usual suspects moment.
Yeah. We don't, great movie, but we're not like PDF or PDF, PD, what is it?
PDA.
Thank you. We don't do that, but like, we're not, I say like, hey honey, will you grab me the script, or whatever.
Yeah. So we keep them professional. As far as like, I mean, the any squabbles that might exist are always work related.
Oh yeah.
It's never like it's
how do you guys resolve it though, Kyler? How do you resolve a work related squabble like when you're having creative differences?
Well, usually I'm right.
Oh, I remember when we used to be married. No, like he'll come to me and say like, I need more days for my second AD to prep, or I need more production assistants, and it's like a budgetary. Okay. I think on a creative note when we're writing and stuff, we always find some kind of common ground.
Yeah. And we just keep it as blunt as possible.
Yeah.
Because blunt
gets it done.
Blunt can sound angry, right? Or mean, maybe.
But it's just direct.
But it's so much easier to say, I think your idea is stupid.
Yeah.
You know?
I can handle it.
I'm a blunt guy. I do.
I can handle a no.
I don't mean anything by it. I still love you.
No.
But I'm just saying what I have to say. Yeah.
That's just the way that we operate. And so like she might throw out an idea that I don't like, and I'm like, I think that's stupid. And if I might throw an idea out that she doesn't like, and she's like, I think that's stupid. And then we'll have the conversation about, okay, well, why do you think it's not stupid?
Right.
And usually here's what happens. She pitched it for a reason, right? She didn't pitch it because she thought it was stupid. What's the root of the thing? So it's like, I think that's stupid. Why don't you think it's stupid? Well, because this, that, and this. And I'm like, oh, well, then if we took this and we did this, that would satiate what your problem is, and it would fix this thing that I've got going on.
Yeah.
And vice versa. So I'd say creatively, we work very well together. Every once in a blue moon, one of us will dig our trenches. You know what I mean? Just dig the heels in and really double down on our opinions about something. But usually it is a very genuinely healthy collaborative process. And then the logistical side of it, again, it's like if I'm say the first AD on something, she's my producer. Well, respect the process.
Right.
It's her word. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter if I feel like I know better or I know it's going to happen or so on and so forth. I'll make my opinion known. And then how do you want to handle it? You know?
And sometimes I'm privy to conversations that he's not part of, you know what I mean? So it's like, hey, you're right for what you think you know, but I have X, Y, and Z that I got to deal with before I even come to that. And that is not a priority or whatever it is. I remember we were doing Karen's movie last year, and you guys might have remembered it was in October, and a tornado. Movie? Karen Kingsbury. It was a movie called Someone Like You. It'll be coming out later this year. And a tornado blew through Nashville and Franklin. Yeah. Took us 7 minutes. We were outside shooting a green screen thing, and we had a crew of 55 people or something, and our cast and everything. We went into the McConnell house where we were doing base camp and waited it out for like 5 or 6 hours. We were on a lightning delay after the tornado went. Now, luckily, everybody was okay, but I couldn't have anybody working, so I was just sitting there like, this is going to be an insurance claim. I got to get something done today. We didn't actually shoot anything. And he comes to me and he says, if I can shut down Main Street 2 hours earlier than what we requested, we can actually pull up work from tomorrow. We can accomplish the first part of that. And then we'll be able to do the driving stuff when we go to Alabama the last week, which we were in our first week. I said, okay, now I got to call City Hall at Franklin and see if they're going to let me do this. And so, but he was right. And it helped me know what needed to happen.
And guess what? No insurance claim.
And we ended up doing it. The city of Franklin was amazing and very understanding.
And I'll tell you something about the city of Franklin. And for this global audience, the Franklin's barely a city, but it's a city, and it's like more like a town. But it's a really, really swanky town. And for those listening that aren't familiar with it, it's for years. The county it's in was the wealthiest county. First or second wealthiest county in America. So you can Google that and look at that. But they want to be in the movie business badly. They built the theater, the historic theater there. They'll say yes to a lot of movie requests because they want to be a player in that space. And also, by the way, shout out to executive chef Jason McConnell, and not writer Jason McConnell, but and friend of the podcast Jason McConnell, but executive chef Jason McConnell, who is brilliant, and that's where you heard the McConnell house. So just getting the audience all caught up with everything you said there. But it's cool because it's kind of like the Coen brothers, where you guys just have a lane, and me and Nick have known each other, and you respect each other's lanes.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, and me and Nick have been doing this for about 7 or 8 years, but we've been, best friends for 2 decades or more. And in a way, it's very much like a marriage, and so we have to, figure out which hills we want to die on and how we communicate with each other. And we have different styles, and we have to make it work. And it's a lot about like, okay, this is what you do, but I'll let my opinion be known. This is what I do. Tell me what you think about that. Now, with my actual wife, that's even, there are hills I'm willing to die on.
Right.
Like to your point, Kyler, did you guys watch the movie Triangle of Sadness?
No, not yet.
No, it's on our queue.
So Triangle of Sadness, you'll never watch it if it's in a queue.
Oh, no.
Triangle of Sadness is, to me, worthy of being nominated for Best Film, which it was. There's a lot in it. A lot of metaphor, a lot of parables, incredible writing, incredible performances, right? I had producer Papa Bear and my wife and one of my kids watch it with me. They all hated it. All of them hated it.
You're like, damn it.
And nothing makes me more upset than when somebody doesn't like something and can't tell me why. Does that get up to you a little bit? Like gets on your skin a little bit? Like you can't even articulate why you don't like it,
and they can't explain. I don't like it either way.
My least favorite phrase ever was, "It was good for what it was."
Yeah.
What was it?
What was it? Right.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Yeah. So that's where I was at, because if I kind of like a movie and you didn't like it, cool. But if I love a movie and you hated it, didn't like it, but hated it, there's a giant gap there that needs to be filled of understanding, and no one would give it. No one would give it to me. I'm chasing people around my house saying, "Tell me why. What did you not like? You didn't think this was funny? Okay. You didn't think Woody Harrelson was good here? You didn't think Woody was good here? No, Woody was fine. Woody was fine. Then if Woody was fine, then how could it be bad? You thought it was shot bad? You thought it was shot bad? You didn't think this was beautiful? No, it was shot beautifully. It was shot beautifully. Then how could you not like it? How did you hate it?" And so I just became a tyrant in my own house, and I was willing to die on the Triangle of Sadness Hill. And only now do I realize how just foolish it was. It's like this. Don't die on those hills. Like, just save yourself the time. They didn't like it. Fine.
It's not worth it. But I will tell you,
I'm still learning.
Wait, Chris, I'm going to take something from Kyler and Natalie. Okay, so I love my wife too, and I love when I hear marriage advice. Okay, I do. I love it because I take it right, and I take it to action. Right. So tonight I'm going to go up to my wife and I'm going to say, "I think you're stupid. I want you to tell me."
I knew that was
right. I want you to tell me why you're not stupid. Like
For those listening, I just pushed him away.
Yeah. You're stupid. I think you're stupid, and you need to tell me why you think you're not stupid.
You need to tell me why you're not stupid.
For your solo podcast. When I produce the next thing, guess who won't be good?
The idea is stupid.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, mic drop. I can just see and just so you guys know, hopefully you know enough about me right now to know this is gonna happen. I want to watch.
This is really gonna happen. This is gonna take place. Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah. Like what?
Yeah. Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers to your bodily health.
Yeah.
And secondly, your relationship. But I'm here for the outcome. I'm here for the content. Please record this. Right. It'll be amazing. I speaking of like calling people stupid and like this idea of being very blunt. When you make a movie and you put it out there, the viewers don't know the context. Like they don't know, here's what we made it for. It was during COVID. Right. It was, and we heard similar stories. We had talked to the gentleman who made the movie Karen that came out. It was also a COVID shoot.
You fell asleep, but
wow. Way to throw me out of the bus. I think I did.
Right?
But they shot that. That was a COVID shoot. They shot that in one. They leased 3 homes in a cul-de-sac that people were currently living in. That's how they got that done. And they were like praying against everything that no one was going to get COVID. They were cutting some corners and had to get some stuff done. But the movie was really profitable and did well. Right. And but they got enormous backlash just because of the timing of it. Like like the political landscape at the time when that movie came out. And so I'm just curious about your movie. Do you guys muster up the courage to kind of read your reviews? And if so, what's the best thing people have said about your movies and your work? And what's some of the worst things people have said? And what is your response to some of the worst things?
So, yes, we don't shy away from reviews.
No.
You know, I don't act like, I think I went through a period where I would actively go see what was being said. But then I just kind of died. It, like, I don't know, it lost its flavor or something, you know what I mean? How whatever that would be. As far as best, I mean, I don't know. Like,
somebody said something
I
about
love the twists and turns.
Yeah, someone said it's like
quotation marks up for everybody.
A Nolan-esque film, which was
that's a huge compliment.
He's actually a huge Christopher Nolan fan.
Yeah.
We did have a troll at some point.
Yeah, so this was on the trailer. When
on the
trailer
YouTube
came out.
This person who just, I don't know, just like wanted to like really just let us know. Like, not even, I don't even sure if this person saw the movie. Just didn't
let you know what? Oh, I just didn't like you.
Yeah, I guess he or she. I just assume based on the way that they were talking that
I think it was a male.
It was probably like a 20-year-old or 19-year-old like dude who just wanted to troll. Anyways,
I feel like women don't have time for that.
See, I have time for trolls.
He loves trolling back.
I'm a big troll myself. Except for, I don't go to random people's movies and like talk
shit
about
it. Yeah.
Anyways, it started off, his first comment was 8.8 on IMDb. What a joke, or something like that.
We were like, okay.
I love your imitation of his voice too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like the way you think he would sound.
You call him a 19-year-old dude,
I used to run a YouTube channel where I did movie reviews, and so when I would like imitate what I would read literally on the channel. I would read the some like hateful post or something that somebody left, because it's YouTube and that's what they did. And that was always one. And then always like, what was it? The color, I can't, like that, something like that. I went between those two voices, so you just got one of them.
I like
but yeah, anyway, so I engaged with this guy. I should not have engaged with the guy just out of professionalism, but I couldn't help. And I was like, no matter how bad you think you control, I control you way better, dude, Yeah. And so it became a battle of the minds.
I will say though that I feel like we have more people who've come to us in person to tell us that their thoughts about the film, that we're like, cool, would you mind posting something like that to IMDb? And they never did.
Yep.
And so it's interesting for some of the people that have posted on IMDb. I don't know who they are. People who come to us, we have a costume designer that we have been working with for a while, who's read some of our stuff that we want to do in the future. And she's awesome and really, really talented. Her name is Malia Honeycutt. And she watched Best Laid Plans, I think about a week ago. Yeah. And she came to us and was like, oh my gosh, it was so amazing. I was I think she might've been like a little nervous to watch it, because it's like, what if it sucks?
Oh,
you know?
You ever have that friend, that's like,
I'll watch
like
it.
An associate, or, you're not like best friends. And so they want you to watch something or read something. And you're like, I'll get to it when I can, because deep down, you're scared it's going to be really crappy and you're going to have to try to tell them, or lie.
She was so complimentary about it. And she went into so much story about like the characters and what they were struggling with. And she said, this is the kind of stuff I want to do. And I said, what did you think about the costumes? Because like that, like I was just curious. And she said, oh, I thought they were perfect, which felt like such a compliment, because, we were doing this by ourselves, and, we had Cecily Hoffman on it, but it was 8 days. Like
she's
And so it was like her helming it in with all these ideas that we were doing. And then we had to purchase things and like maintain them. And it was just nice to get another perspective of somebody so far removed from it, not part of the project and still in this business, not as a filmmaker, quote unquote, costume designer who's a filmmaker, but not like a writer, director, producer type, and be so invested in it and want to work with us. She's like, I will literally do anything that you guys want. And that feels like a huge compliment.
Totally.
Yeah, that is huge. That's awesome, guys.
To piggyback on that, I think one of the biggest compliments that we've received, period, about it is people's willingness to want to work with us again.
Yeah.
Right.
That's huge. Yeah.
And it's a testament to the quality of the project, obviously, but also how we treat people on set. We're not running 18-hour days to get this stuff done. I refuse. I absolutely refuse to do that to people. And I'm not saying, by the way, for anybody who's ever done, nice Friday day. I'm not saying to anybody who's ever ran in a shoot that was 18-hour days that makes you like a terrible person or anything.
No.
Just to clarify, but if you run your crew into the ground, it is very likely you're not going to get your crew back the next time you need them.
I think there's this fundamental problem with independent filmmakers that think that all of our friends are getting together and we want to do this thing. We're really passionate about it. We're really excited. I'm not saying that they're not, but you're doing a 10-day shoot and you're shooting, 15, 16 hours days because you're not organized. You don't have a plan. That is actually not how to do it. And so you need to do it right. And if you need more days so you can do it less, but a lot of times it's a lack of a first AD. It's a lack of the organization and the pre-pro, and they're figuring stuff out on the day. And it becomes this just nightmare. And I have gotten into debates, in situations that I've line produced last year or produced things where I'm like, no, because my main thing is like, I want to make sure the people are okay. They're helping you make your dream come true. This is not their dream. And so you need to make sure the people are good and that they're taken care of and they have adequate turnarounds, because at the end of the day, just because your movie got made doesn't mean that the world stops. Right. It's important. And I want your story to be told because I'm excited about it, but you can't abuse people.
Yeah.
And I think for me, from a producing standpoint, like that is number one, because the only way you keep doing it is that you treat people right.
Yeah. And I'll say, Chris, to something you said earlier about the rules and everything. Rules are meant to be broken, but there's one that's not. It is not breakable or acceptable to break, in my opinion, and that's the 6 P's of production. Are you guys familiar with this?
Yep.
Proper planning prevents piss poor production, right?
Yep. And that's in sports. That's in sports too. Piss poor performance. Yeah.
It's a great point by both of you, and thanks for sharing it, because I immediately thought about a friend of mine that did a film and fired the scriptie. It just wasn't working out. So I immediately walk over to the Daily's editor. Sure enough, they're in a nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
They didn't feel empowered to tell my friend this because they didn't want to be next.
Yeah, exactly.
But that person will probably never work with them again.
Mm-hmm.
Like you put them in a terrible spot to try to edit the dailies. So it's like, just because you couldn't, like you said, have a debate, but be professional and keep that scriptie on. Right.
Yeah.
So there are these little things where, when you make a decision, it really trickles down. And look, there are times where you have to just fire crew, but it can get ugly the way you do it. On one of our films, we had to fire some crew on one of our films. That person went back and sort of front ran our IMDb ratings in the beginning with zeros.
Yep.
He got a bunch of his friends together.
Gosh, I'm so sorry.
And took a shit on our movie.
That's right. Troll the worst way.
But also it was like I wasn't there. So I was like, well, how did this person get let go? How did they perceive being let go? And was this done the right way? To this day, I don't know the answer to that. And when people email me from the past, I always want to find out, hey, what's this about? Let me know, because I want to fix it. And feeling empowered like I do to fix it. I want to do that. Before we do get out of here, I'd be crazy if I didn't ask you what your approach to P&A was and marketing was for Best Laid Plans, or just any of your projects. Is it basically your expectation that the distributor is going to do it, or are you guys doing things individually to do it?
So then it definitely was. They Random Media has their own marketing team. They included us in on several phone calls on how it was going to be marketed, which I think they didn't do any sort of like televised marketing, but they put out posters and the trailer and, shared it through this avenue and that avenue and whatnot. All in all, like if I could turn back time and do it all again, I would honestly probably hire an actual marketing firm to promote it, because at the end of the day, they did everything that they could, but it's not like they have a giant marketing team that does this or a PR team that does this.
Right.
And so, we did have to promote it a whole lot on our own, and I know that can get annoying for people on Facebook when they see the same,
and
80th laid plans post,
we also don't have the following for it. It's like, Eric Doctorow, who runs Random Media, had a career at Paramount and MGM and Miramax. And he saw that independent filmmakers were kind of getting screwed when it came to these big things. So he was running the home division. So he decided to kind of retire from that, open up Random Media, which is a subsidiary of 1091 Pictures, which is a subsidiary of Sony. And help them. So we were able to negotiate a certain fee for it, but it wasn't anything crazy like, having our trailer on some kind of primetime television show. But it was something, I think, like going back and looking at it, it's like, oh, okay. One of the reasons we picked Random Media is that, Gravitas might have 20, 30 films a month that they're releasing. Random Media only
way too many.
They had about 3 to 5 maybe that they were releasing each month, right?
Yeah.
And so they really handpick things that they really enjoy, and they say no to a lot of stuff. And that was a big thing for us. And so they are on the smaller side, that they are able to put some funds towards it. But yeah, I think going back, we would have done something like that.
And it's not like, I mean, of course, if you want to do some sort of national campaign, it's going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? But to hire a good PR person and a marketing firm for stuff like this is less expensive than you might think.
Yeah.
I mean, it can get costly, but we actually ended up looking at somebody once the movie was out, and then it was kind of like,
what's the point?
It's already out.
Yeah.
Like it's going to, we're chasing our tails at this point. But it was, it was several $1,000s, but it wasn't $25,000. It
was like $3,000 to $5,000 for this amount of time. They can do this. They have these avenues to these, not deadline, but it's kind of deal. Something we did do, which maybe your listeners might want to know, is like, if you have something, hit up the people that you do have on your Instagram that have followers on that, 10,000 plus side. If you know them personally, or even if you don't, send them a really professional thing that's friendly and casual and says, hey, if I sent you a private link, would you give an honest review, whether or not you liked it? If you don't like it, give a review. If you love it, will you give a review? We put it on your story or something.
Yeah.
And we had people that did that, like musicians in town who had 20, 30,000 followers. And so we had views that were showing. I mean, it's the only way I think we made our money back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's really smart. I love that. It's basically organic social influence is what you're talking about there, versus paid social influence. Another thing that's happening right now, sort of quietly, I would say it's an open secret. Like industry folks know about this, but indie filmmakers, by and large, that I've talked to don't. Fast advertising, so like fast TV, is becoming very, very strangely enough affordable. And I think the way that it becomes affordable is the fact that all the ads are dynamically placed. So you're not paying for static. Like if you get an ad on the Super Bowl, you pay what you pay for that ad because everybody's watching at that moment this show.
Right.
Whereas when you watch fast TV on your Roku or your Apple TV, and those ads come up because you're on the free plan, right? Like that's what the F in fast is.
Right.
Your smart TV along with your provider know who you are. Now I know that sounds creepy, but just get over it because that's where we live in 2023.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like they know how many people, like what race you are, what age you are, what you're into. They're into your Amazon account. They know what you tweet about. They know that stuff. And so they don't know your name like that. You're like a number that has a profile associated with it. And they'll send you ads that fit you. So you're more likely to like be interested in the things, they're doing. And I love fooling these things, by the way. Sometimes I'll do some stuff in the, as a Hispanic person, and then I'll get all Hispanic ads. It's great. It's like really, it's really, that's one of the tests. That's like a test. Like, okay, how much am I being tracked? Start typing in things in Spanish and looking up Spanish things and Hispanic things, and then see what kind of ads you get back versus your normal sort of like middle of the road American kind of things that you would normally
remember.
Get. Anyway.
They don't care who you are. They care what you're into at the moment.
What you're into.
You buy.
This actually has happened to us when we write scripts where we'll write and, you're looking specifically for, I don't know, say a sword. And then all of a sudden Amazon or Facebook or something is like, I've got these. What is
for a sword?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
You say you're looking for a sword.
It's based on a real life thing with
you're gonna get a kick out of
with
this.
an inappropriate comment. I don't know how clean how.
Can we just say what it is?
This is an adult show. Yeah.
Okay, so Rebecca Lyons and Catherine Morgan. I don't know if you know both of them.
I love Rebecca Lyons and Anna. Shout out to Anna Lyons.
Yep.
Shout out to Anna. So Catherine and Rebecca, I don't know, 2019 did a show called Lock and Holmes, and I directed it. And the last episode of it, Kyler and I wrote to kind of sum up the episodes. And we decided that it'd be really funny if what you come to find out that they're in search of, because these are, detectives, that they're all looking for the new case and something's gone missing. And so they are looking for something, and you come to find out as you're watching it that their dildos have gone missing. So and it's a comedy and it's really fun. And so when we were researching it, what kind of dildos we should have for set dressing, Catherine comes to me and she's like, Instagram is just telling me what kind of dildos that I should have. And I'm getting like all this them, like, corsets and things like that. And I'm like, I just looked up and I was writing something. I don't want this.
This is who you are.
It's so funny because it's so true, because it's actually more personally invasive when somebody opens up your social media apps than even your text messages sometimes. Yep. Because the apps are literally feeding you back what you've been looking for recently. Yeah, you just definitely don't want your significant other looking through that stuff and getting the wrong idea depending on what you're searching for. Or anybody for that matter. Yeah. Otherwise, he would have had some questions for you.
Right. Exactly.
And rightfully so. Honey.
Yep.
Yeah.
Opened up Instagram on your phone. It's a lot of dicks.
Right.
Chris and Nick, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please.
Of course.
Turn it around on us, Nick.
I know.
Well, I know we're coming to a close. It's been really fun with you guys. Kyler likes to ask this question to people. And so Nick and Chris, if you were stuck.
Wait, if Kyler likes to ask
that's true. I'm so sorry, but I'm the reason why it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So we have a question for you.
Okay. We're excited.
I'm sure that you've heard the question 1,000 times. What's your favorite movie, right? And it's like I hate it because it's like an ever evolving
triangle of
list of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, so I long time ago adapted a different way of asking the question. If you were on an island by yourself and you had one movie that you were going to watch for the rest of your life, because that's different than your favorite movie, right? Yeah. What would it be?
I already have mine. Nick, do you have yours?
Go ahead, Chris.
Princess Bride.
Nice. That's a good choice.
Nice.
All right.
Princess Bride.
Yeah. So though that, of course, Chris popped into my head, I have to go with Coming to America.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
Good.
Great choice as well. Neither of us lose, Nick.
Favorite movies.
Yeah, quality. I love it.
It tells me a lot about you guys, based on what you would enjoy watching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
It's a great question.
What's yours?
Yeah, my movie is Twister.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Nice.
Which is funny because the casting director of Twister actually cast the movie I did last fall. And she was so busy. I got her on the phone. I was like, Ricky, do you have like 30 seconds? I got to tell you something. I had them like ask this question. And I told her about it. And she's like, oh my gosh, I kind of forgot. That was a really great experience. Thank you for reminding me about that. I was like, cool.
People sleep on Twister, and especially in this town where tornadoes are like Freddy Krueger to us. But it's it's a great movie. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, I'm with you. Twister's underrated.
Yeah.
So everybody's gonna judge me, and it's fine. It's fine, but it is what it is. It's a movie called Meet Joe Black.
I know
Dude,
Joe Black.
We know that movie. That movie's wonderful.
Joe Black's good. That's a good movie.
But I will tell you,
it is polarizing, Nick.
No, it's not. Movie's wonderful.
But
all I gotta say,
I love it.
Is when they turn around and look at each other. You know what I'm saying? Like he turns around and then she turns around. Wait.
Yeah.
And then he turns around and then she turns around. Like it gets you. Like that they're gonna turn around and look at each other. Like that's the next thing that's gonna happen.
Yep.
But that's not what happens.
Nope, not even close.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a wonderful.
I have no
movie.
problem with these choices at all. Yeah, great movie.
No, these are all good choices.
Yeah. Meet Joe Black is kind of like Brad Pitt's had to go through this a few times because he did that with Meet Joe Black, and now he's got Babylon. And I keep standing on this soapbox for Babylon, right? Like even though I thought Tar was the best movie I saw last year, I keep standing on this milk crate for Babylon because there are people out there legitimately saying the movie's not good. And like, in what universe is this movie not maybe the best 50 movies you've ever seen? It's so big. It's so hard. So
tell me
I would highly.
You're not stupid.
I would look. Just watch it for yourself. Go in there without prejudgment. Don't go in there, taking the advice of some prude where you're going to be looking out for, too many sex scenes or something like that. Just enjoy the story. There we go.
Yeah.
We got a fifth guest there. I love that. And so, Babylon is one of those movies that Brad Pitt shouldn't have to defend. He wasn't even the lead in it, but he was in every scene and really did a lot for the film. It's great. And, I'm kind of a morose guy, I guess. And a lot of my favorite movies are sad movies. And that's why I wouldn't pick them to watch over and over on the island. Right. Like I'm the kind of guy who liked the movie Mother. I liked Requiem for a Dream. Yeah. I liked those. I liked American Beauty. Loved it. Loved American Beauty. I love Braveheart. Yeah. 7 Pounds was really sad.
Yeah. It's a sad one.
You want to talk about a movie? Look,
yeah.
I'm not scared to tell people I cry over movies. Like that movie made me blubber like a baby.
Yeah, that thing will drag you through the mud a little bit for sure. Yeah, that one. There are movies that like Color Purple. Like I don't want to watch that on an island over and over again. Is it one of my favorite top 10 movies? It is. It's just rough. That's all. It's rough, and I think there's something about that when you can relate to a movie that takes you somewhere emotionally. I love to cry at movies too. I have no shame in it. I'm just like you, Kyler. But I don't want to watch it over and over and over again on an island by myself. If I have to Tom Hanks this thing, give me The Princess Bride all day.
Yeah. Right. And I'll say this, dude. I don't think Kyler said he likes crying in movies. It's like me. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it at all. Yeah. I try to stop that crap in its tracks. I'm like, man, my nose starts tingling. You squeeze it a little bit to stop it. But I'm with you too, man. It's like I'm not afraid to say it, but I don't like it when it happens. I'm like, no.
Right.
Yeah. Kyler thought people were going to judge him for Meet Joe Black. People judge me because I admit that I wept at Crash.
Oh, dude.
Oh.
Well, I mean,
I don't think I wept at Crash, but I love Crash.
I wept.
You get infuriated. Exactly. You get infuriated by it. That's another part for me. It gets under my skin.
When I thought that little girl went out for her daddy, and I was like I've got 2 daughters. I was just like, man, fuck this movie, man. Fuck this movie, man. I'm about to weep in here.
Yeah, but I'll tell you guys. But I'll tell you, like, okay, so here, real quick. I know we got to wrap, but Coming to America, I picked that one for more than just the movie itself. Okay, because there's a lot of movies I like. And part of it is because after Coming to America, there was a movie called Trading Places. And they have characters that were in Coming to America that show up in Trading Places. Before there was Coming to America, there was Eddie Murphy and all of the comedy that he had done, whether it's Saturday Night Live or our stand-up, Arsenio Hall, the stuff that he'd done before, and all the things that he did after. So that movie for me is one of those things, like it's a cultural icon that allows me to then step into all of the things that went around it at that time. So for me, if I'm stuck on an island, I get to watch a movie but I get to step back into a place and time that was just wonderful memories, wonderful actors, wonderful comedians. Like I get to reminisce of all of that stuff at one time. So that's why that's the answer.
That's really cool.
That's a multifaceted reason. I like it.
That's some of my favorite films. I mean, sometimes when things are just really hard, I'm like, you want to watch something from the 90s?
See,
Coming to America is great. Now, we got to ask producer Papa Bear. I think Trading Places came first, just to clear that up before Coming to America. But I'll have him check on dates for me.
Looks like
I thought Trading Places
came
80s.
first. No. Trading Places came first because the two characters in that one ended up basically going broke, and in Coming to America,
and being in
Eddie Murphy's character gave them money.
Oh, that's
and they're
right.
like, we're back. Right. so it came first. Yeah, so there's these just connections to those characters.
So smart.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, loved it. So
yes, Trading Places was first.
Hey, you did it.
What I've learned.
Papa Bear, thank you.
Yeah,
there it is. Yes, Trading Places. There it is. Thank you, producer Papa Bear. Here's what I've learned. I've learned that we all have good taste. I've learned that you guys are a force, and I think me and Nick have learned that no matter what you do, you're not going to stop. And those are the type of filmmakers we admire the most. So, can you tell everyone listening or watching how they can admire you as well on social media, on the internet, or where they can even see some of your work?
She thought you meant like in person, like you could just see,
or in person. If you want to drop email addresses and mailing addresses, feel free. I don't recommend it.
Right.
Social while we're at it. So you can look up Outsideourmeans on Vimeo, and you can watch any of the short films that we've done there.
Instagram might be a good place to start too. There's links to that.
Outsideourmeans on Instagram. Obviously, I'm Kyler Wilson. She's Natalie Ruffino.
Natalie Ruffino Wilson.
Yeah.
Best Laid Plans is on Apple TV, Amazon,
Vudu, Roku,
almost every streaming service that isn't Netflix and Hulu and
HBO
at this point. And then there's also a little web series that we worked on last year that recently came out. It's a kids show. If anybody is really interested, it's called Camp Radio.
Kyla directed it, and I produced it, and I'm in it. It's a really fun watch.
So it's a pretty fun kid show. It's not, we took away cell phones, so we took it back to the 90s basically, nostalgic. And didn't allow those stories to evolve, that sort of thing. There's no politics to it, which is very important to me. Like no politics, no cell phones, none of this crazy stuff that's going on in the world.
Just some kids.
We just made some a show about some kids that built a radio station over the course of their time at summer.
If anybody wants to email us, they can email us at outsideourmeans@gmail.com.
Yes.
And we just spell that for us.
Yeah.
It's GMAIL.
Smartass. Outsideourmeans. OUTSIDEOUR. M as in mom, EAN as in Natalie, S@gmail.com. And yes, I can spell.
Nice. Beautiful. That's perfect. Just in case someone's listening to this in Denmark or Nigeria and all the places we chart. I want to make sure they get it, contact you guys, reach out to you guys, because you're worth reaching out to. And if you guys want to know more about Bonsai Creative, you know where you can do that. Our podcast posts, we post some content, usually something every week or two that you can enjoy, long form content. Appreciate the support, but you can watch us on YouTube, listen to us on any podcast network, so wherever you listen to great podcasts. And of course, you can reach out to us on our website at www.bonsai.film. That's BONSAI.FILM. Very cute, right? And you can reach out to us on social media at _Bonsai Creative. You can get in touch with me at Flaming Your Heart on Twitter. And you can reach out to Nick at bonsai.film. Yes, that's an email address. And with that, Patreon coming soon. Appreciate the support for all the people who give us money to help us support this podcast as a true fan, we're going to convert you over to Patreon soon. So listen out for that. And so with that, Nick, can you leave us with the credo?
Of course. And a big thank you to Kyler and Nat. Remember, it's
Thank you.
Wilson. Yep.
Yeah,
for joining us today. This was awesome. We appreciate you and the small cameo from your cat that showed up today. So that's awesome. Yeah, and that's beautiful. And I will say to our friends, family, and fans out there, be better, be creative, be engaged.
And thank you for listening. Nick, talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. We'll do it again.
Nat, Kyler, be good. Okay. Talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, folks. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Peace.
All right.